All right, so here we are. We are going to be talking about two Grif's MK7s. We have this one, and I'll go over a little bit more in detail about what makes it special, and this one. But generally speaking, these are both configured with similar chassis designs, similar setups, and the only thing that's different is obviously what went into the manufacturing, and then on my part, what went into the crystal chamber. So let's hop down to the table. We'll talk about those things and we'll keep going. So welcome back. As you can see, I've moved, got a different setup here. So this will be my new office. Still have yet to do some stuff in the background. Working on a new way to record this with OBS Studio. So audio is probably going to suffer for a few videos until I figure that out, but hopefully this makes it easier. So right off the bat, these MK7s came to me, one for David of the Saber Museum, that would be this one. And you can see there's a couple differences here with the greeblies, the switch mechanisms, and then a couple features like the D-ring. This pommel has a brass accent on it. But the switchbox, the grip, everything else is pretty much machined the same from Grif. He just did a little bit of extra work. And I don't know if that was based on David's requests, but here he machined a custom box and then wired it for me. I did have to do a little bit more wiring to take care of some things that went on with the chamber, but thank him for that because that was a huge blessing. So he put a single neopixel under this mesh, and then these little brass plungers press up against really robust red tactile buttons. So the left will be main, the right will be aux, and then we have a glass side. Now I took a cue from Tim at Tierfawn. He's the one that told me where to find the brass mesh. So I wanted to kind of mimic what was done here. And then I put something there. And so we've got also a custom neopixel from Shadowfoil pointing down as well to have some shine through. So that's independent. This is independent. The neopixel emitter is independent. Where'd my Allen key go? So custom blade plug directly from Grif's Custom Sabers. So those will be identical. We have a Shadowfoil neopixel. This is independent of the main blade. So the outer, inner, and innermost rings do something different in the on and off state. So the main difference, as we said, was the button selection. So on this one, we don't have any extra tubing up here. This was wired with a little bejeweled. So underneath here, this is again another plunger system. Grif's Custom Saber supplied a machined Delrin piece to hold a tactile switch here, and then he also machined a plunger switch here with a tactile underneath that. So, and again, I did the same thing with the brass mesh here for shine through. So yeah, and then this D-ring is a little bit narrower, and then there's not that extra brass accent as we can see on these two. So those are just the main differences. The other difference between the install would be the crystal chambers. So these were set up with a custom crystal chamber of my design, obviously hugely inspired by some of the other sabersmiths out there. So this particular one has a real quartz crystal. And because I had done a couple Roman props installs and I needed some options for doing similar work, I had these cubic zirconia. I didn't end up using on those installs. So on this chamber, I designed it to have an upper focusing crystal, air quotes here. And then on this one, a quartz crystal. And then we can see craft cloud printed brass crystal chamber. And then an MJF nylon chassis with my design. Again, obviously, huge inspiration from Tim at Tierfawn with the whole greeblie concept. Look, and of course we got to have our universal greeblie there. So we do have a red and green LED here, but then underneath this baffled greeblie, we have a 2020 strip of 15. Those do their own thing. There is a Shtok Custom Worx ring underneath the crystal chamber, and then there's a single it's either 1515 or 2020 single neopixel accent to light that up. That also comes from Shadowfoil. So we'll take this one out as well. We can see that's... So this one has 12 independent blade styles. Obviously 4 of those have to make up how to get this to work. But basically it's your main blade, your emitter, inner, outer, and innermost, then the glass eye, and then the upper crystal, lower crystal, baffled greeblie, and then red and green LEDs. And on this one, similarly, almost everything is the same. Now I did rub and buff and paint these chassis, but there's a cute, like couple differences that I decided. So on this one, David had provided a custom Noah Drew holocron marble. So I put that into this one. And again, we've got your main blade, your emitter, outer, inner, innermost, and then glass eye, then switch, focusing crystal, lower crystal, red and green, and then baffled greeblie. So this one has 12 blade styles to cover all that stuff. So we'll just hit the kill switch. And these are mostly set up with the same fonts because both these customers kind of, I guess, are friendly with each other. And I've been doing the party mode for Gerald on this one. And so David wanted that feature set. So we've got that on this one as well. So you can see all independent accent lights go on here, and hopefully it's not too washed out. But I did put some diffusion behind here to hide the wires because this is basically a magnifying glass. Grif's had already done diffusion here as well. So it just kind of mimics that. But you can see these are 2 different colors because those are independent of each other. These are similar colors, but they do different things. This is a single, obviously, and this is a ring. And then the red and green doing their own thing. Different in the on and off state. Almost all of them will react to blaster blocks and deflex and stuff like that. I will show off a couple accent styles here. Let's do it on David's so we can see all of the accents, but they're basically going to be very similar. So they also, this being several months past my last couple installs, Acolyte came out. The font makers did their thing. Fernando at FET263 come up with a couple things to mimic some elements going on in the show. So both of these guys requested to have the Cortosis Clash and then the Crystal Bleed. So OSHA is the first one. This comes from Kyberphonic, and that one I did the Crystal Bleed on. It requires a special abilities to be turned on and extra sounds to be put into the SD folder to react to that special ability. So this is the only one that will do that. I'll demonstrate that with the blade in, but we'll go ahead and turn power on. Again, power aux on this saber. The bejewel is power, and the brass hat is aux. And again, these all do something a little bit different. And light may be washing that out, but I wanted the light to be able to show all of the detail. So we do have a 24 millimeter KR bass speaker here. These have been set up to a reasonable volume. I don't try to push these too hard. So we put it on. We got a good resonance chamber. Again, I'm not sure how the audio is over here. Let's switch this back on so you can see me. Let's go back to this other scene. And then we'll turn that off. We do have gesture controls, but I only turn battle mode on for thrust on. If you do a twist on, you'll just be in regular mode for both of these. And that's generally because the buttons are easily accessible and there might be some false clashes and stuff like that, or things you don't necessarily want to do with battle mode. So we'll check out a couple other fonts with these blinkies.
Chimere?
So Chimere is just left alone as is from the font maker. I didn't do anything. It doesn't have Cortosis Clash because obviously he's the one doing the Cortosis Clash. And then it doesn't have the Crystal Bleed because it's already bled, right? Because he's a Sith.
My name is Yord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi.
Yord, I put Yord, Jeki, and Soul as the next three, but obviously there's all of the other ones in the Power of Many bundle on here. So those were requested and paid for by the customer. But I put them on the card. I just didn't program them all because they're all going to be similar. So this one does do the Cortosis Clash, as does the Jeki, as does Soul. So to do that, you'll have to do the special ability. I'll have an email to explain it, but I'll demonstrate it with the blade in. But basically, there's a folder on here for all the transition sounds. It'll basically, you ignite it, you do the special ability to kind of engage it, and you'll hear a sound that lets you know that you're in that mode. You have 3 seconds to engage a clash. If you don't clash the saber within those 3 seconds, you're just back into normal mode. But if you do, it will short out the saber. There's another sound for that shorting out sound. And then there's like a half ignition sound, and then it goes to a full ignition. So the Power of Many bundle didn't come with those transition sounds. So I went to Juan Sith and bought some sound fonts from him to get those transition sounds because he demonstrated that. I think he worked with Fernando to make sure he had all that stuff. So as you can see, different stuff going on in the crystal chamber. That one was blinking. Different stuff going on in the glass eye. And then, like I mentioned, all of them are pretty much reactive to blaster blocks, clashes, etc. And I even, again, it's going to be washed out by this light, but on all the LEDs I have the brightest setting be those accents. So it'll be subtle on camera, but you'll see that those flash as well to just a little bit momentary brighter. So let's see if I can demonstrate that again. Yeah, you can sort of see in the green there. So, all right, so let's put a blade in it. I'm going to leave this one on. Both of these are, I think, programmed to, or actually, I'm pretty sure David's is because he likes to photograph them. This will turn off without any action after 25 minutes. However, I think after 15 minutes, the gesture controls will turn off. So you won't be able to like twist on or thrust on. You'll have to do a power button to wake it back up. And then, the same goes for this. I don't remember the time settings on Gerald's, but we'll do that. But you can see, again, different... Chimere?
My name is Yord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order. Jeki. Master Soul. Ninth Sister.
And then we have a couple more Survivor fonts. Now, again, on both cards, all the Survivor font folders are there, but if you want to create your own presets, you can either duplicate one that I have and then just switch the font, or there is room on the on the Proffie. I only programmed up to about 75%. It's a little different between these two because this one has one extra blade style to account for. But here, we'll just show off some of these details. So some similar stuff I've been doing. But again, this is MJF nylon. So the paint job looks a little different because it's a little bit fuzzier. I usually have these with resin, and you can get a little bit more crisp details. So some of those details, for instance, like the button, I don't know if I'm going to call them buttons, but like those are different colors on the other saber. And then there may be a different color on these as well. I know I did that resistor is blue on this one and brown on the other. But just stuff like that, just tiny little differences other than the crystal chamber to make them different. So I'm gonna hop back out here, we'll put a blade in, and then we'll show off a couple things, and then we'll wrap it up. I will say, be mindful that both of these sabers, are designed to get the grip off here, but because Grif doesn't know how the installer is going to choose to do it, you can unscrew the pommel, because obviously these could be designed as fully removable if you did something clever with the switch box here. So there's the 24, good resonance chamber. I didn't, design it to go all the way to that grill. I wanted the pommel to have some good resonance. So I just try to keep that tight as possible. And then when I'm unscrewing, I just unscrew from the grip. So let's hop back out here. All right, so for this blade demo, I'm going to show off the new, what is this called? Quantum blade or something like that. This is the one from Saber Base, so not the one from KR and not the original one from Tritium. But it has the, I don't know how many pixels, but it's programmed for a 36-inch length, which will be the same on both these sabers, but it'll be a good demonstration. However, this is a 7/8, so I just have an adapter. These are 1-inch diameter sabers, emitters, hold a 1-inch diameter. So I'm not sure what each of the clients has. I know they have a 1-inch diameter blade, but the new Sabertech one, I just did that. That way I can demo anything and just use an adapter. So that being said, both of these customers wanted some of these new advanced features that are coming out on Proffie. So to get that, you have to use special abilities. Special abilities are basically hold either button and twist to the right or left, and you'll get something different happening. On the first font, which is the Jedi Survivor Party Mode, holding power and twisting to the right will advance the phases. And so each phase does a different color, a different blade style, and then you'll hear the hums and some of the accent swings change as well. Those are all advanced features in OS 7. But to get to the quote-unquote party mode, which is hard accent swings, also change phase, that is special ability 4, which is hold aux and twist to the left. So again, there's 4 different combinations of how to do it. I'll have it on a printout for the clients, but basically power to the right is forward, power and to the left is previous, left or aux and to the right is random, aux and to the left is party mode. So let's demonstrate that. So we're in just regular mode. You can see, like I said, independent colors on the emitters. This, I think, is a slight green. And then we're also in regular mode. So to engage a lockup, you'll hold either power or aux and clash, right? Those are, and then, so I'll do next phase, which will be special ability 1, power to the right. You can see now we're in cyan. So I didn't perform it. What I accidentally did was held power for 2 seconds for a force effect. You can swap between force effect and quote if the preset and the font folder is set up to have quotes. You'll just point the hilt down, do the same thing, hold power for a second. Otherwise, you're just in force player. So one more time. So now we're in green. Again, this is just going forward through the phases. I think there's about 9 phases. So let's do party mode now. So I'm going to hold aux into the left. You don't get a sound, but it won't change. So meaning when you do the button press, you won't know that you've done it until you try an accent swing. But you can see hard accent swings will change the colors, but if we're just kind of moving around, it's the same, right? But the crystal will match. So on, I set this up to have I should say the lower crystal, not the focusing crystal. For every phase that there is a different color and a different effect, the crystal will match. So this is magenta, I believe. Be very mindful. I do not recommend hard swinging with the grip off, but you can see both are matching. Now it's orange. Now it's yellow again. Now it's cyan. So anyway, just a heads up, those are matching for this particular preset. So that's party mode.
Cal, and this is PD1.
The same thing is true of special abilities for the crystal bleed for OSHA. Now, to do those new features on OS 7 with regard to the Acolyte fonts, the font folders themselves have to be set up to do what you want to do. So I've only set the OSHA sound font up to do the crystal bleed because I think that's the only one you're going to want it to happen on. You have the ability to copy that preset and move it to different things, and you can get the effect, but you won't get the sound to happen if you use any other font without setting it up to have those transition sounds in that folder. For that very reason I mentioned, I also bought not only the Power of Many bundle from Kyberphonic to get these new Acolyte fonts, but I bought a couple fonts from Juan Sith to get those transition sounds to do the Cortosis clash. So that is the only maker I knew of at this point in time. While this is still kind of in beta, I guess I'm not really sure where we're at with Fernando's settings. So Juan Sith did the work to get those transition sounds. So I have set up all of the folders beyond OSHA, The Stranger, and yeah, those are the only two that don't have Cortosis Clash. But everyone else, those folders are set up for Cortosis Clash, but I've only programmed presets for Jeki, Yord, and Soul. So, but let's demonstrate the Crystal Bleed. So we're on OSHA. So now we're here. Yeah, the sound font's different. Okay. So I accidentally didn't do it. I held power too long and did a force effect. There we go. So now it happened. And now it's into the different sound font. You can hear the hum changed, right? So, all right. That is, like I said, only set up for the OSHA sound font because it only happened for her. Chimera is the only one that doesn't have any of those features set up. It's just a regular sound font, right, from Kyberphonic. But, so again, when I messed up, I was holding power for 2 seconds to perform a force effect. You can switch between force and quote player mode if I've done the work to set up the quotes. I don't know if I've done that for all of the sound fonts that are on these sabers, but to switch to quote player, point the hilt down and do a force effect. So now it won't do that blade effect. It'll just play his quotes.
Even after everything, you put your faith in the Jedi.
Okay.
My name is Yord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi, Odin.
So again, there's multiple characters, but I've only programmed 3 of them to have the Cortosis. Yord is the first. So here we go. And again, you want to do special ability 1, which is hold power and rotate to the right. So now we're in Cortosis Clash. We have 3 seconds to clash the saber. If we don't, you're back in regular mode. So now if I clash, it's just a regular thing. But if I go back and do my special ability, sound effect tells you you're there. Now we get the ignition glitch. So I had to get these glitch sounds from Juan Sith because you have to have a sound effect that lasts for 7 seconds. Basically, the Kyberphonics I don't think had there. I tried to start with that and just pick a font, and it was just like a 1 second sound, but the saber was still glitching for like another eight or 9 seconds. So now it's programmed to be timed exactly with that transition sound from Juan Sith. And you'll notice there's 3 phases. There's the Cortosis enter mode, which you'll hear a sound effect, which I think is Chimera breathing. And then you have to clash the saber. You'll get the glitch sound for 7.5 seconds. And then it will false ignite to about here with the flame effect at the tip. That's a third sound. And then you'll get your fourth full ignition sound. So one more time. Power into the right. We're in Cortosis Clash. Clash. Glitch. False ignition. Full ignition. So 4 sounds, all there in each of the folders. So like Indara, Kalnaka, Torben, but those aren't programmed. So if you want to create those, you can learn how to do that by duplicating the font, changing the color, switching the font folder, etc. So did Jackie as well. So we'll demonstrate that real quick. So Soul is the last one that will also work on. And Soul obviously is going to be very similar to OSHA. So there we go. But we can just do force effects or quotes. All right, so now we're in force player again. And you can see I do a little bit of an unstable for as long as the force effect goes. I like to do that so that we know what's going on and we know when we're in force or quote player, because the quote player won't change the effect. No.
Ninth Sister.
So for instance, I believe Ninth Sister has quotes. All right. So again, those are all of the most recent developments. Now, we've got some Ahsoka fonts. So those are here now as well. These will be similar to what I've set up for previous sabers for each of these clients as well.
Ezra?
So there's basically very similar setups to these. There's a couple sound font differences because, again, these are 2 different customers. And you can see here, we'll switch over to scene 2. This has still been going on for about 15 minutes now. So it's still off. So these are programmed exactly the same. We will show off, however. Let's go back to some of these previous fonts.
Ninth Sister.
So we can see all 3 of those rings are doing something different, depending on which sound font / preset we're on. But you can see how this one has been separated to do that. And then when it's on, and it's different, that glass eye, and then all of the different accents. So when we're ready, we can hit the kill switch and set it up. So let me show one thing. In the battery tray, I did put Grif's Custom Sabers and then clearly indicated the positive terminal, but it's always spring sides are negative and nipple to nipple. You will damage the saber if you put the battery in wrong. So that's the sabers for both of these. Again, these are both programmed almost identically. As the fonts get towards the later ones, there will be a little bit of difference. So, for instance, here, I'll go ahead and turn my face off since I'm not paying attention to webcam.
Ninth sister.
And here you can clearly see the difference between the focusing crystal and the regular crystal. One thing to note is I did forget how many wires I had to pass through. So when I was designing the wire path on this crystal chamber, I miscalculated. So what I used was in the back, you can see two braided pairs. One is a reddish coating and the other one's just a clear coating on copper. But these coated 28 gauge solid core wires for the switches on this one. You can barely see it on this one, but I thought that would look cool, look like it's part of the chamber and not be too obtrusive with actual, PTFE coated wiring. This is a special coating for guitar pickup winding. So it's like a ceramic coating. It can handle heat just as well. Obviously with like switch wires, there's not a lot of, if any, voltages. You're just completing a short little circuit. But all of the, actual amperage wires go through here for the like emitter and neopixels and stuff. So that is the saber. Show off a couple more presets here.
Ezra?
So again, we do have twist on and twist off, and we have thrust on.
Obi-wan Kenobi. I'll never join you! If you only knew the power of the dark side. Bust a window!
These do have the OS7 voice packs on here. So if there is a character font with a voice pack, chances are I've got that in that character folder. So for instance, I think if we go back.
I'll never join you! Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So if we do like a battery level.
Enter volume menu.
Oops.
Exit volume menu.
So that's the default one. I've used Luke on the default.
I'll never join you!
Chimera?
I think it's on this one.
Enter volume menu.
Yep, there you go.
Maximum volume. Exiting volume menu.
So,
My name is George Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order.
but the default is the Luke one because I think this is inspired by Luke. That is Grif's custom MK7s. These both come with plaques. Those are in the other room, but I will take pictures with those and everything is good to go. So to these two wonderful patient customers, if you have any questions about this new video, there's a lot to cover here. Hopefully I can shorten this down, but any questions about the special abilities or which fonts do what, just email me. But basically these come, pretty much how we've done them in the past. And yeah, so all of the same things apply, like with regards to soundtracks. I got a huge folder of soundtracks in the common folder. You can get to those from the standby mode. If you're horizontal, you can only get to the ones I've actually programmed. If you're pointed up on those particular presets, and then we've got a ton of fonts on the SD card, but I think I've only programmed maybe about 15 or 18. I'm forgetting how many. It took me a while to do it. But those sound fonts are ones you guys have provided or I've bought on your behalf. With regard to the Acolyte, that's true of both of these and like the Ahsoka series, etc. So these will start to differ, like I mentioned, in the later fonts per customer, but to each customer, they're ones you have in the last few sabers I've installed for you. Thank you so much for being patient with me while I moved to a new house and got this whole setup going and waited on these parts from overseas. And yeah, just can't thank these two customers enough for their continued support. Thank anyone who's watching this who likes to watch my stuff, because I know I ramble on quite a bit. If anybody has any questions about the new stuff, with regard to the Cortosis and Acolyte series features. Again, I'm not sure 100% how much is public ready on Fernando's site, but I'm a Patreon. I suggest you guys become Patreons. And you'll have early access to those things. So again, I don't know if these are public ready, but these are Cortosis, V2s, and only a few font makers are getting that stuff together. So like I said, Juan Sith had the transition sounds I needed, but I just bought the whole bundle from Kyberphonic because I love Jesse's fonts, and I try to support him as much as I can as well. Thanks to all the other font makers as well. So that'll cover it. Again, to the customers, any questions, please email me. I'll have these ready to ship shortly. I just need to photograph them and get the emails together. So thanks again, and hopefully this setup will improve. I'll definitely be working on backdrops because obviously my ugly door and this old stupid security system that doesn't work anymore is kind of in the background here. But I figured if I had like an OBS studio setup, sort of like some other installers out there, where I can have a permanent top down and a permanent customer face or camera facing this way, then that will make things easier. But obviously I've struggled a bit here with this particular first video right off the bat. So again, I'm rambling. Thank you, and may the force be with you.